the tutorial for Chapter 9 in your Beginning AutoCAD workbook. Our objectives for lesson number 9 are going to be understanding our origin, drawing objects using coordinate input, using absolute and relative coordinates, input using direct distance entry, list information about an object, measure the distance between 2 points, identify a location within your drawing, and create your own master border. The last thing is printing. Okay, so in our previous lessons, we've just been clicking our cursor to make points to put things where we want them, except for in lesson number 8, where we started working with coordinates. So what we want to do is, it says AutoCAD uses the Cartesian coordinate system, which is just our X, Y, Z. So we're only working in 2D, so we're only working with X and Y right now. So over here, you guys probably remember this stuff from math class, so quadrants 1, 2, 3, and 4. So X is our horizontal, Y is our vertical, to the right and up is positive, to the left and down is negative. So right here in the center, this would be our 0, 0 point. So anytime we're talking about points, we always have to enter them as X, Y. So this little point up here would be entered as 4 for our X and 3 for our Y. If we wanted to make a point over here, we would have to enter -4, -3. So these points, those are our absolute coordinates. So your book shows you a little example on page 9-3. And it also points out something that it says is very important. It says to make sure in lessons 9 and 10 that your dynamic input, so your F12, should be turned off. We don't want your dynamic input turned on. So F12 should be off. So in this little example that they give you, they draw a rectangle using these coordinates. So we're just going to use line. And when it says specify your first start point, we're going to put 2, 1. And then it says specify first point. My num lock wasn't on. 2, 1. And then it says specify your next point. So 7, 1. The next one is going to be 7, 3. Next we have 2, 3. And I can just close this. So these are our points. If this kept going, this point over here on the right would be 7, 1. Up at the top would be 7, 3, and so on and so forth. And you could do the same thing if you wanted to draw negative, but you'd have to put negative in front of, or the minus sign in front of your numbers. So that is your absolute coordinate system. Relative coordinates work the same, but in the absolute coordinate system, everything was coming from our origin, so 0, 0. Our 4, 3 is 4 over and 3 up away from our origin. With relative coordinates, you're entering coordinates based on the last point that you entered. And to do that, you have to use the at symbol in front of them. So if I wanted to draw something using relative coordinates, I'd start with line, and I have to give it somewhere to start because I haven't drawn anything yet. So 2 comma 1. Now my next one I want to put at, I'm going to put at 5 because I want it to be 5 long on the x, but I don't want it to go up any, so I'm going to put 0 for my y. So the first point over here was 2 over on the x and 1 up on the y. This point now is going to be 7 on the x and still 1 on the y because we added 5 onto our 2 on the x and 0 onto our 1 on the y. So from here, if I wanted to go up, I'd say at 0 because I want my line to be vertical. I don't want to go over any on my x, comma 2 because I want to go up 2 units. To come back here, I have to do my at symbol, and I want to do -5, comma 0. So that'll bring us all the way back around. So when you're doing relative, you have to use the at symbol. Okay. And then page 9-5, it just gets you to go through and practice using both of those. So your absolute coordinates and your relative coordinates. So make sure you try that the little example that's shown in scenario number 3. And remember to turn your F12 button off. So I'm going to run through that little exercise in scenario 3 quickly, just to show you. So I'm going to start. It says my first point is 2, 4. My next one is going to be at 2, comma -3 because I'm coming down, remember? Then I want to come straight down at 0, comma -1. Then I want to go to my left, so I'm going to go at -1, comma 0. Now I want my line to start coming up, or I guess this is my last line actually. So at -2, no, it's not my last, I'm sorry, -2. So I want to go over to the left on my x, comma 2. I want it to be 2 up from where the last one was. And now my last line, sorry, is going to be at 0 because I don't want it to go over, comma 2. Okay, so make sure you give that one a try. After that, they talk about something really important. You're going to end up using it all the time once you discover it in this lesson. It's called direct distance entry. So sometimes you might be trying to figure out, if I want to make a line that's 6 inches or 6 units long, how do I do that? So I'm going to show you down here. We're going to have our ortho mode on because we have to make sure that our lines are going to be straight. We need our ortho mode because we're not giving it coordinates. The only coordinate I'm going to give it is where I want it to start. So I'm going to say 1, comma 2. Now, if I want this line to be 5 units long to the right, I'm going to move my mouse to the right, and I want to make sure my F12 button is off, and I'm going to type in 5. If I move my mouse up, your line's going to follow whichever way you move your mouse. So if I didn't have my F8 on and I was going over here and typing, it's going to follow it off in that direction. So F8 should be on. I want to go up 4 units. I want to go back to the left 5 units. I don't have to type minuses in these ones because it's just following my mouse around. I'm not giving it points. All I'm doing is giving it lengths. So that's called direct distance entry. So you're going to end up using that all the time. The next thing that they talk about is the measure tool. If your ribbon is kind of shrunk down like mine, you'll find it under the Utilities tab. So I'm just going to throw that quick little rectangle on here like they have one. And I'm going to throw 2 little squares in as well. Okay. Okay, so we're going to use the measure tool. So come here, select measure, and it's got a drop down. So I could do quick measure. And if I go near this rectangle, or sorry, triangle, it's going to show me all the measurements for that triangle. Same thing if I went near, I'm not clicking on any of these, I'm just hovering over them. So it's going to give me quick dimensions, quick sizes. They don't stay on the screen, they don't stay on your drawing, it's just for measuring. If I come, and mine's jumping around right now, but sometimes you can get it to, I think it did it a minute ago in the video for me. You can get it to measure, it'll show you the distance between, it was there for a second, it'll show you the distance between 2 objects as well when you're doing quick measure like that. But you can also do measure distance, and then it says where do you want to measure from. So here to here, you have to click for those. So then you come down and read on your command line. Okay, so it was 1 unit on the X, 0 on Y, 0 on Z. So same thing here. Utilities measure distance. If I want to check the height of that line, so look at my command line, it's going to be 2 units. And you can check things like radius, angles, you can get volumes and areas, well, areas for 2Ds. The next one that they talk about is called ID point. So we had gone before into our little customization over here and turned on coordinates so that when you move your mouse around, you can see at the bottom of your screen kind of general coordinates. You can also go under utilities and select ID point, and any place you click on your drawing space, it will tell you the X, Y, Z coordinate for that space. So if I click in here, that one, I'm right on my 0 origin. So that's a quick way to figure out where your objects are in space. So in exercise number 9, you're going to be creating a border that you use for the rest of our lessons. So make sure you take your time setting up lesson number 9, or exercise 9. And I'm going to do a separate short little video about plotting. The end of all the exercises from here out, the last step always says to plot them. We're just going to plot a couple of things in class. You're not going to have to plot out all of these little exercises you're doing. So I'm going to make a separate video for plot. All right? So that's the end of the tutorial for chapter number 9. That's the end of our review for chapter number 9.